What are the lessons that you've got from that exploration world, from the mountains, from the seas to the space, that you can apply to your investing world,
Oh,
business world?
there are so many. But the biggest one, and I was an intelligence officer for 20 years in the U.S. Navy. And so if there's one thing that has commonality across all those dimensions, particularly in investing, is you've got to do your research. Investing off gut, while there is a place for that, you need to know what you're talking about. And you can't over complexify things either. War taught me that, which is you can make things really complicated. You can think technology is the solution to this or that problem. There are basic principles that you need to follow. They're not complex, but that doesn't mean they're easy. First, preparation through collecting information. In the military, we call it intelligence preparation of the battlefield. It bears remarkable similarity to looking at a marketplace. Where would this new company fit in the ecosystem? Very importantly, not just what are they going to do, what are their competitors going to do? Gaming all that out in your head, just like you would a war. Or climbing a mountain. How am I going to approach this mountain? What if the weather goes sideways? How will I adapt to the changing circumstance? How do I have an escape route if things completely go to hell? Those are all preparation, but people seem to get exhausted by doing preparation, but it's essential. The second is adaptability. No plan survives contact with the enemy. Classic military saying. Same is true in business. You can have your business plan, you can have all these other things that you're going to do, or we're going to do these awesome things with technology, but the world will throw you curveball after curveball, and you have to constantly adapt. That's why I love the quote by Andy Grove, the former CEO of Intel, who said, "Only the paranoid survive." And one of the keys I look for in CEOs of the companies that I invest in, do they have that humility? Do they run a little scared? Do they understand that they are not the smartest person on the block? And if they do believe a lot of their own press, that's a very strong danger sign. And so there's that. Adaptability, I think I mentioned, but also you have to have a very good read on people. By the time you get to the level of C-level executives and high-end investors, people up there are really good at telling you and appearing what you want them to be. Even today, after doing private equity and venture capital for 35 years, I give myself a 50-50 shot at recruiting C-level executives and having them achieve the expectations that we both set out. It's just really hard. People are tough.
So where's that balance though? Because obviously, if you're looking for that humility and knowing that they're not the smartest in the room, but you also want that killer that has that confidence
Yeah.
that's going to take you across the finish line no matter what. They're going to
Rare.
die trying. How do you judge that balance?
It's rare. You referrals are great. Probably the best way is people that really know them and will talk to you honestly about their character. And everyone has positives and weaknesses. You're never going to have someone who's perfect on everything. They don't exist. So you want to pair them with people that compensate for their weaknesses, et cetera. I love engineers. Shocker. But the reason why is because they're very mathematically inclined. They can take themselves outside of their own emotion, their own intuition, and look at the math. And the math will often tell you the truth. You have to listen to the truth as well. But engineers that know how to relate well to people, that also have that intense drive, tend to be extremely effective chief executive officers or C-level executives. I do not prefer to get involved with so-called vision CEOs that have the boom mics, that walk on the stage, that are very kinetic, that really motivate people. I'll put them as head of sales or head of marketing, but not as CEOs. And I'm not going to name names, but you can imagine any number of CEOs that fit that archetype. Those have been some of my least successful investments ever, is when I was younger and I got bought into it. No, give me the semi-boring, intense, engineering-esque individual that knows how to work with people well, particularly in a team environment, and then will drive it to conclusion. Those are the best CEOs.
But how does that, because again, not being in this world, I would assume like someone who's a technologist or an investor in technology, the Elon Musk, the Hughes, you'll have this like, bigger than life type of personality. If you're most of your well, I won't say most of your investments, but at least you're driving your public side is aerospace and technology. How does that boring CEO mesh with that type of investment?
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
yes, it does, but you're conflating the two. You don't necessarily have to be a very large ego, big personality to be an intense and effective CEO.
Yeah.
There are quiet CEOs. Those are some of the most effective and most dangerous. The ones that are very, very intensely focused on the mission and the team. And it's not about them. It's almost in a way, they are putting the company and the mission and the technology first. They're just a vehicle for doing that. And they really, deep down, that's how they view themselves. And that, in a way, they also say, if I'm semi-expendable, I have built a team that could keep carrying this forward because that's what I care about. Those are the CEOs and the leaders that I tend to be attracted to. I hope that I'm similar in that way. Well, yeah, I mean, I was the poster boy for diving the ocean and developing this technology, but I think anyone that knows me knows I don't care about celebrity. I honestly don't. I love the technology. I love doing the thing. I love strapping a submersible and doing a mission that's never been done before. That's what motivates me. I don't care about celebrity. I don't depend on it for my livelihood at all. It's useful, which is why I do it, and people are interested. So I'm like, okay, sure. But you want leaders that actually are not motivated by the celebrity or by the money, but by the mission. And truly, in some respects, enjoying a team environment to achieve that.
Yeah, because I was just thinking about like the, for lack of better words, like the sex appeal of like, oh, look at me, I'm flashy, I'm this and that, and then the technology, like, ooh, it's a cool world. But what I'm hearing is like, hey, pull out your slide calculator and slide rule calculator and your pocket protector and
Well, or like Elon did when he started Tesla. They don't have a marketing department at Tesla. That tells you volumes about what he's like. He's about building fascinating things. And yes, he gets an enormous amount of attention, but I really don't get the impression that he seeks it or ever really wanted it. Or the same with Andy Grove of Intel or any number of other successful CEOs. Steve Jobs is a very interesting case because he was part of that, but I think he was the exception who proves the rule. But I like to study more his partner, Steve Wozniak, who really drove the technological development of Apple in the early days. Very quiet, nerdy guy, spoke well, but he was all about the product and all about the engineering. Those are the people in fact, I was on a venture capital call a couple of days ago where I had two brilliant scientists from MIT, and they have, I won't get into the details, a brilliant technology, but they had not thought a whit about the business plan. Well, how are you going to fund it? What's the revenue model? They almost looked insulted that I asked them these questions. And yes, their technology would be revolutionary if and even maybe when it works. No question. But with absolutely no thought of how they would monetize it, they were asking for $15 million to build a capital expenditure project to build this technology. Yes, if it was built, it'd be a big deal. I didn't invest. I never even talked to them again because they were so insulted by my questions about the business viability of what they were doing.
Well, I think I saw, not recently, but a couple of years ago, Sam Bankman-Fried, that whole situation where people were just throwing money at him. And it was like I think it was a case of like the Emperor's New Clothes where it's like, well
Or Theranos.
yeah, it's like, hey, let me just follow because Steve did it. I need to do it. Joe's doing it. I got to do it.
Herd mentality.
I don't want to miss out.
Herd mentality.
And then
all the time in investment.
Was it Chopper? One of the All In podcast guys, he was saying that he actually was doing those questions and they basically, Sam Bankman-Fried's team cussed him out. And then, they lost billions of dollars and then went to jail. And it's like doing your due diligence, doing your research, be prepared.
There's a great quote I heard from a movie once. I can't remember what it was from. It says, when people are cussing you out and really coming after you for criticizing them or castigating their business model, the likelihood of you being correct is sometimes directly proportional to the intensity with which they're trying to prove you wrong. Yeah. Really good minds and people will say, that's an interesting point. Let's look at the numbers or let's look at the situation and talk about it. That's what I like. And then one of my most powerful rebuttals to anyone that's questioning a viewpoint that I have is just show me where my math is wrong. These are my assumptions. This is how I get to my conclusion. and I break it down as much as I can. Where is this not correct? And we can disagree, and that happens sometimes. Okay, you believe this, I believe that, and there's no real way to determine who's right. Okay, fair enough. Now we're going to take a calculated roll of the dice. But when they can't find fault with the logic path or the math or the assumptions involved, you know there's an issue.
Well, that's the Shakespearean thou
Does has too much.
Right.
too much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Shakespeare, well, reading enough Shakespeare, he pretty much knew everything about the human condition. It's awesome.